Welcome back, everybody, this week. Very glad to have you here. Very thankful for more subscribers and comments that were made. And some of the comments were that you're looking forward to growing with me on this channel. So I really do appreciate that. So welcome to Stories, Treasures, and Tea. So I think the first thing I want to start with is treasures. This week, I went to a couple of thrift stores. As you know, I like to frequent them. And I also went to a consignment shop, but I had luck in the thrift stores. The thrift stores were at either end of this big city. And in my home, I have a black and white blanket, like a throw that's very cozy. It's a black and white check that you will see. And I know it's kind of cottagey, but I love it. It's so cozy. And when I saw it, I just thought, I love this cozy blanket. So when I was at the thrift store this week, I came across this item, which some may think it's Christmassy, but to me, this is what we need a lot of. And we're going to talk about this in this session. But as you can see, it's got the black and white check too. So I had to get that to go with my blanket. And then when I went to the next thrift store, I came across these. And of course, I had to have these. 2 black and white mugs. Oh, they're so nice. And they're from PC. I don't know if you know about PC unless you're local, but Fortino's grocery store often gives away gifts, and you can collect points, and you can get gifts with your points. So anyway, I just love that black and white for maybe hot chocolate. I thought it would be nice for that. So that was another treasure that I got this week. The other thing I want to talk about today, of course, is tea. And because Valentine's is just around the corner, I thought that I would choose a strawberry chocolate tea today. And this beautiful red cup, which was gifted to us from a cousin, and it was her mom, so my aunt. So that is really a treasure to us. And the tea is strawberry chocolate, but oh, I can just smell the subtle chocolate. It's not too intense, because I remember one time I had a chocolate tea and I thought it was too much. I just thought, that doesn't seem like tea to me. But this one is strawberries in it, cocoa beans, and there's also papaya and apple, which I think helps to make it more subtle. So we have this on our website. As you may know, my daughter and I have a tea business, and it's called Tea Amo. And we named it that also. I didn't mention this before, because it's like a play on words, because Tea Amo in Italian and Spanish is I love you. So Heather came up with the idea of naming our company Tea Amo. So that's what we've done. And so today, my chocolate strawberry tea, oh, very nice cup of tea. And interestingly enough, the beautiful cup and saucer is from Tuscany, not England, but Italy. So that's interesting. I love that tea. So the other thing I want to talk about then is stories. And as I said, because Valentine's is just around the corner, I would like to talk about happiness, joy, and love. I saw a thing on TV just last night, and it was talking about studies in happiness. And two of the top things to help us be happy were, number one was relationships, and keeping relationships alive and thriving. And it, of course, doesn't necessarily just mean romantic relationships, but it means relationships with friends and family and even pets, it talked about. So that was one of the things that was top on the list for keeping us happy. And the next thing was physical activity, exercise. And I know in my mind, one of the best physical activities is walking, because walking, usually you're in the fresh air, it's good for your mental health, it's good for your physical health, and it's just always good to get out in nature. I'm very lucky, I'm very fortunate because I have, I walk around in my neighborhood, of course, but right now there's a lot of salt on the road and it's not good for my puppy. She gets it in her feet. Oh, it's a terrible thing for puppies, I think. We tried to get her some boots, but we're having a hard time getting those little boots on. Anyway, so I'm fortunate that I have a farm that I can go to walk. Well, I don't have a farm. I have access to a farm that I can walk in nature, and it is just beautiful out there. So I'm fortunate to have that, but wherever you can walk. There's even some YouTubes, if you can't walk outside, because if the weather is extreme, then you can walk indoors. There's a couple of real good programs for walking inside and with music, and it makes it more fun. But I just want to look at a couple of books that I've read and on the theme of happiness and joy and love. And this one is called God Never Blinks. It's by Regina Brett. And it says, when Regina Brett turned 50, she wrote a newspaper column on the 50 lessons life had taught her. She reflected on all she had learned through becoming a single parent, looking for love in all the wrong places, working on her relationship with God, battling cancer, and making peace with a difficult childhood. In this book, she expands the 50 lessons she learned. So that book I really enjoyed. Of course, it's nonfiction. And she said this about happiness. She said, when you find yourself feeling stuck in fear, doom and gloom, sadness and self-pity, simply stop and ask yourself this: do you want to be happy? It's all up to you. Right here and now, choose happiness. When you find yourself stuck in a mood you don't want to be in, ask yourself, what would a happy person do right now? Practice being happy. Act as if you are. Make it part of your daily routine to be happy. I like that. That helped me through some sad times, but I had to read it like 10 times. Okay, and another book that I've read that I really like is called True Love. This is by Thich Nhat Hanh. I'm sure I've said that incorrectly, but he was a Buddhist monk. And he says that true love, a practice for awakening the heart. And he says, training is needed in order to love properly. And to be able to give happiness and joy, you must practice deep looking directed toward the person you love. Because if you do not understand this person, you cannot love properly. Understanding is the essence of love. I love that. So the third book I want to show is another one I read, The Single Woman by Mandy Hale. And this is a young author that has written a few books. I think she's just published one recently. This one's a few years older, But in The Single Woman, she talks about how there's advantages to being single, and how you can grow during that time. I think her next book was called Beautiful Uncertainty, and it was talking about, again, waiting and having lots of joy during that time. Waiting for love is what she was kind of referring to. So what she said was, you are never really alone if you make friends with the person in the mirror. I like that. I love that. So those are a few books that I would suggest reading if you get the time. And I want to also talk about finding love over 60. And one of my subscribers, she said that she had been married for 20 years and then it ended. And 11 years later, she got married again. So I think it's encouraging to know that you can find love again later in life if you want to. And I mean romantic love. I have never thought that it's absolutely necessary. I don't think so. It's up to you. But I will say that in my case, I was married for 29 years. And at the end of that relationship, which was very sudden for me, and I did not see it coming, but I remember a few months after we separated, I thought, I'm going to date. Why shouldn't I date? My former husband was with a woman. Why shouldn't I try to date? Even though I thought it was very odd and strange to tell my grown-up daughters that I'm going on a date. I mean, I hadn't had a date for over 30 years. So I met this man online. He was a very nice man, gentleman. He took me to a cafe in this nice town, and it was by the lake. It was a very nice day. And then when we went back to my car, he walked me to my car, he kissed me. Well, that just threw me for a loop. I was not ready for that. I remember I went home crying and I thought, I'm not ready. I want to be married is what I thought. So I waited a few months down the road. I went online again. I think it was eHarmony. I'm not even sure if eHarmony exists now. But after a number of different dates, which I'll talk about in a different video, but there were several, just coffee date or lunch maybe. Anyway, eventually I met Michael. And Michael is the man in my life right now. Michael is the most patient man in the world. And Michael is an excellent listener, which kind of goes hand in hand with that book talking about, in order to love, you have to understand. And he listens. Actually, and Michael bought me this beautiful red heart ring last year for Valentine's Day. So I'm very blessed to have found Michael. And speaking of love, here is our Lilibet. Lilibet was just having a snooze. I woke her up, but she's an adorable pup. She's most snuggly when she's sleepy. She's just over 6 months old. I've never had a puppy. One of my subscribers says that she has 3 pups. So I would love to get some tips because I've had rescue dogs. We've had rescue dogs through the years, but I've never had a puppy. And this has been a challenge. So I would welcome any tips you have about puppy. She's very active. She doesn't look that active right now because she's sleepy, but she's a very active girl. So any tips you can give me is much appreciated. I hope you have a happy week. I hope you have a happy Valentine's Day or Galentine's Day, and come back, see us next week. It would be fabulous. Thank you. Bye. Bye-bye.